Okay, so welcome everyone. We are going to have a webinar today regarding, what is an MES and why do we need one? I'm going to focus a little bit on the definition. I've done this webinar in the past. So for those of you that are return attendees, thank you for coming back. Not going to spend too much time on the definition, but it is good to kind of set the stage there. And then the majority of the time I want to spend on why do we need one, right? It's kind of like why do you need anything? It's you have to have it has to provide value to yourself, and that's why you should consider actually doing anything in life, right? If it provides value. So kind of just going through the definition, really, what is an MES solution? Well, it really is a solution that actually helps you monitor and collect and communicate things to and from your business. So you're thinking about your heart of your business, which is really your manufacturing floor and what is going on in the floor, and is really important to the livelihood of your business. So you really want to make sure you can connect, not only to connecting to the floor, but maybe connecting to the resources that you're using on the floor. And the resources could be people, could be your machines, could be your inventory. And the key term in an MES solution is the execution. It really helps effectively execute things that are happening on the floor. And when I say execute, it's kind of that communication for what's happening on the floor, what should be happening on the floor, what is actually happening on the floor. When I say floor, I'm speaking in a very generic terminology here because, again, that could be people, that could be machines, that could be material, it could be quality, could be inspection, could be a downtime on a machine. There's a lot of different things that you'd want it to effectively communicate. And that communication is two ways. It's not just one way where I'm pushing a lot of information down to the board. We also want to get feedback from the floor, and that's where I'll get into that. Why do you need an MES solution? Kind of further to expand on, what is an MES and kind of thinking about it from a kind of a graphical perspective, where does it fit? Where does it fit with your other business applications, right? You can see very on the bottom there, at the very lowest level, you've got your machine kind of interfaces, right? I'm actually talking to machines. And some of you may have these, some of you may not. Some of you may have machines in certain areas of your plants that have the ability to communicate what's going on as far as what it's producing, how it's producing, is it up, is it down, those types of things, which is great. Some of you may not, and that's fine as well. I mean, maybe it's more of a human interface, like a paint line or an assembly area, right? Then you've got MES, which kind of is in the middle there. Above MES, you have your ERP system, and then you have your BI tools, right? So all these things kind of play together, right? And you think about MES there. MES is a critical piece of this puzzle because it really helps you communicate from the floor, whether or not you have machine information or not, doesn't matter. But if you have the machine capability to communicate information, it's your conduit, right? It's the tool that allows you to communicate the information from that machine up to ERP and ultimately up to your BI tool. And then we can maybe even change that to AI, right? A lot of talk about AI. We just had a meeting here internally about our next stage for what we want to do with AI as well. But it's kind of just saying you're capturing this information for a reason. But the most important thing is you need to make sure it's being communicated from the lowest level from your machines on the floor all the way to your top level for your business intelligence or your artificial intelligence, right? Ultimately, ERP needs to be fed the information that is happening on the floor, which is great. But again, I'm going to back up and make sure that I get this point across that this is a two-way communication, right? It's not only grabbing information or accepting information from a machine on the floor at the lowest level. It can also push information to those machines down there on the floor as well. And then it's the information that is either captured from that machine or captured from a user utilizing an MES solution. It has to communicate that to ERP and ultimately to BI. And then vice versa, ERP needs to communicate down to MES. What's the plan? What do I need to work on and things like that. Kind of brings you to the, next kind of slide here, which is, what you have this MES solution and you have to think about, the who, what, where, and how, right? Those are the different things that you want to kind of pick apart with any good system. And it applies to an MES system as well. where it's like, all right, what do I want to do? I want to actually help improve the execution of my shop floor. And what does improve mean? Is that improvement for, the jobs that are being worked on in the right order? Does that improvement mean the material is in the right spot at the right time? Does that mean the job is running at the expected rate that it's supposed to run? Is that the machine that is currently up or a machine that is currently down? All of those things are kind of boiled into that what, right? The execution management. Thinking about when do I track things? When do I trace things? There's traceability in an MES solution at many different levels. You can literally trace a machine, you can trace an employee, you can trace a job. And within a job, there's details within the job as far as who started it, when they started it, what machine was it running on, what material was used, whether it was a batch lock component, whether it was a serialized component. There's a lot of different things in there. And then that resource management, which I kind of mentioned a couple of times, like, who's working on something, what machine is working on it, what material was used, all those resources kind of go into the MES solution. Expanding on this a little bit and saying, all right, here are the different categories or the different functions of an MES. Not in no particular order, but it's a data collection tool, acquisition tool, right? It's also a data communication tool. Hate to say it, but it's kind of feeding. It's a necessary evil. I was going to say a different term, but it's necessary evil, right? We have to actually collect information so we know how we're doing and what we need to react to, right? It's this schedule. That's right. I want to say that I want to produce a schedule, a demand out there, and have my operators or my machines or my workflow kind of respect that demand for what was scheduled. It's actually dispatching those production units out on the shop floor. I talked about that tracking and traceability and genealogy. That can be not only at the machine, the employee, but also the job level or the material level. And then that genealogy even takes it a step further that says, what are the batch lots or the serial numbers of my items and where did those go into what end item did a particular component go into, who worked on it, when did they work on it, what machine was actually utilized to produce this part, what quality steps were put into it as well. There's a lot of things that go into that. Staff and resource management, kind of mentioned that already. Process management, as far as managing the process, as far as what needs to be actually worked on, when it needs to be worked on. The performance is a huge part of this, and this is where that two-way communication goes, right? Back to my earlier statement where we talk about improvement, and in order to improve something, you need to monitor, right? You need to have that data collection that I mentioned up above, and then because we have that data collection, now we can actually look at the information and see whether or not we need to adjust. We need to react to it. Maintenance management is built into an MES solution as well, as far as understanding not only your machines, but when are they up for maintenance? I mean, do I go through a daily checklist? Do I go through a monthly retooling? Do I go through a time period, meaning that if this machine has been running for X amount of hours, that's when I need to perform some of my preventive maintenance. Quality management, we talked about kind of, that genealogy tracking and traceability as well, but quality takes it to a different level of saying, what, I have a quality test plan that needs to be executed for items, whether that item is a purchased item or a manufactured item, whether it's a work in process item, it doesn't matter. We need to actually look at the different quality aspects of this. And then lastly is document management. Just another piece of say that, all right, I want to be able to make sure that my processes are being adhered to. I'm sure a lot of you go through ISO audits, making sure that you are producing things the same way every single time. Okay, well, let's take this and flip it on its ear a little bit and look at the MES workflow, right? And now you have your planners and you have your designers out there, right? And they're actually, creating a schedule, right? My planner is going to create a schedule based on the demand. My designers or engineers or whatever you call those people, they're actually creating the necessary steps for what needs to be done in order to produce an end item. right? Or what's required to produce an end item. So obviously drawings and instructions and all types of specifications, the different routing steps, the bill of material that's required, everything that has to be available in order to produce an end item. Well, this information all gets kind of funneled into that MES solution, that manufacturing execution system. And then from there, obviously, it can actually be presented. I can present down to the shop floor as far as what needs to be worked on, kind of from that planner's mode, saying here's the schedule that somebody has planned. And that could be a person, that could be a tool or application that says, I'm going to create the plan for you for what needs to be started first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, right? That production information then comes down and actually a ship supervisor can say, all right, now I know what needs to be done from the design perspective, what is planned from a planner's perspective. And now I can actually, further swizzle that if you want to say, all right, who do I want to schedule to what areas, what machines are available, what material is actually available. Because even though you have a plan that says, here's what I need, sometimes that material is either not available or maybe it's allocated for a different job. Then this information comes down to the actual operators. The operators on the floor take that information from an MES solution and says, all right, thank you very much for giving me a plan. Thank you very much for telling me all of the things I need to work on for today and all the information that I need in order to produce the end item or produce the work in process item. And that's actually the product that gets created by that operator. And then I just put in here lastly is that inspection, because quality is part of it, right? And operators can be machines, can be people. And then we've got our quality section here where things get inspected. And then all of this information kind of goes back into that MES solution to say what was done, how was it done, what was used, what was completed, how many pieces were completed, how much time was reported, what were the quality results based on the expectations for those results, how much machine time was used. All that information goes back into the MES solution, again, to update those dashboards, those metrics, as well as think about that hierarchy I mentioned earlier. This information then goes back up to your ERP system and any of the BI tools or AI tools that you have there. So why do you need an MES, right? That's the biggest question, right? Why do I need this? And when you think about anything, you can't improve anything that you do not measure. So if you think about everything I just talked about from that previous slide of that MES system and all that data that is being communicated to the floor as well as from the floor, that's why you need an MES system, is because you want to be able to communicate what should be worked on, when should be worked on, as well as what actually happened out there on the floor. So you can actually, improve your visibility for things out there on the floor. You can actually make adjustments to improve your velocity. So you can tell whether things are actually running to schedule. And so if they're not, obviously I can make some adjustments so my productivity is increased. If people are actually working slower, I can say, all right, I want to make some changes so they're more efficient for what they do. And efficiency comes in multiple ways. And it's not just, the job that's being worked on, and I should, be completing 5 parts per minute or something like that. Efficiency goes to saying, what machine is the most advantageous to use in order to produce a part. Or maybe it's efficient from an operator standpoint to say that give them the ability to quickly see what they should be working on and what they need to do to actually accomplish that task, and give them an efficient manner to report what was actually done. I've gone through a lot of different manufacturing facilities, and there's a lot of paper out there where, people on the floor, get a plan, get a work order or a shop pack, and this is what I should be working on. There's labor cards and time cards and other cards in there where they actually write information on there. That's all inefficient parts of their day. Give them a simple tool that they can see what they need to work on real quickly and then just quickly report it. It helps improve quality. It helps improve your on-time delivery. And we think about like your customer satisfaction goes up if obviously you are producing parts on time, delivering them on time, and they're error-free or 100%, quality. So all of those things are kind of going into, why you need an MES. Kind of maybe just expanding on that a little bit more. There's a lot of other reasons, to get down to the details. An MES solution can be used to actually improve your cycle times. And maybe ask how? How can just a collection of information or presenting of information improve my cycle time? Well, if you think about cycle time, it's the time from when a manufacturing order is released until the time it is actually reported completed. Well, at each operation step, you can immediately tell whether or not you're running to target, or you're running behind target, or you're running ahead of target, which obviously helps you improve your cycle time. But what about all those in-between times, those wait times or those idle times, where I'm actually moving parts from one operation or routing step to the next operation or routing steps? That all goes into that whole cycle time calculation. And it also goes into your ability to meet the demand for a delivery to your customer. Eliminate data entry. I talked about that big shop packet that has those job cards and labor cards and everything else in there. Present that in an easier fashion where, they don't have to actually write it on a piece of paper. And then, because when you write it on a piece of paper, someone needs to go and grab that information, take it to someone else, and they have to enter it into a system in order to be able to utilize it. Again, if we don't know about things and we don't have that information and that measurement, it's really difficult to make improvements. So that reduction of paperwork kind of leads into that as well. Obviously, reducing work in process, understanding, that cycle time again, kind of going back to that example, your work in process says how many things are currently in WIP today, and how can I get them out of WIP, meaning so they can become an end item, and then I can actually sell it and invoice my customer, right? Improves the quality of the application. I kind of mentioned this a little bit at a higher level, but how can we actually use an MES solution to improve quality? Well, let's just take a quick example here of saying that if you know the quality requirements at a specific step in the manufacturing process, and you can actually get results of how it's performing to those expectations, you can make adjustments. They always say the cost of the quality, right? What is the cost of quality? Well, the further down the manufacturing process that you find an issue, so if I find an issue when the end item is reported complete, I've got to go and maybe tear that down to actually figure out what can be reworked or corrected in order to actually have a quality part go out the door. Or worse, I could actually have scrap at that point. So the earlier in the process that you find that quality issue, the lower your cost of quality is. So you can not only improve the quality of the product, but you can also improve on your cost of quality as well. Lost or outdated paperwork. I mean, obviously, paperwork sometimes is a necessary thing that you have to have if you're looking at D-size drawings and things like that. But paper, once it's printed, is really outdated, right? So if you have an outdated drawing or a drawing revision that came up and you need to actually change it, you have to go find that existing paperwork, rip it out, and replace it with something else. It empowers people, helps in the planning process, and really overall it improves the entire company. So you think about all your tools for purchasing, for planning, for forecasting, etc. All of those are now actually improved based on the information that you get from your MES solution. I have a couple poll questions I want to kind of throw out to the audience here. Just real quick, take a minute, or not even a minute, it'll take 30 seconds to answer them. My first question is going to be, do you have an MES system? So I just want to answer yes or no to that. I see some answers coming in. Probably about 25% of the audience has responded so far. Right now, just so you guys know, we have about a 50-50 split for those that have an MES solution and those that do not. Maybe give a couple more seconds. Okay, so it's still at 50-50. And my next question is going to be, all right, for those of you that do have an MES, what features do you are included? What features do you have? Do you have production? Do you have inventory? Do you have quality? Do you have employee management? Do you have machine management? Do you have analytics? And do you have dashboards? And in this one, you can actually select multiple. So if you have, production and inventory, but you don't have machine management built in, or you don't have analytics, obviously feel free not to answer those. Just giving you some feedback for results. About 50% have production, only about 25% have inventory, 50% have quality, uh, and 50% for metrics and machine management as well. Okay. So coming back over my PowerPoint now, I kind of want to just kind of walk through maybe just a couple quick examples for how people or companies actually saw improvements by utilizing an MES solution. And the first one is downtime. Real life example is a customer that has a machine out there that was producing aluminum parts, right? And the amount of aluminum parts that it was producing for a year was 9 million parts. So quite a lot, right? Well, they had more work than what they could shake a stick at. They were not only running one shift, but they were running 3 shifts a day, 24/7, 7 days a week, right? But they were told by the operator of that machine, the supervisor, and even the plant manager saying, we need to buy a new machine. We cannot get any more output from this existing machine. Well, then they started to say, all right, let's kind of track some information for this. And this is where they started tracking the amount of downtime that machine was not available. Could have been available for mechanical reasons. Maybe it wasn't available because there was material that wasn't being used. There's a lot of different reasons for downtime. So they started interrogating the amount of downtime, and what they found was that this machine was going down quite frequently. So what they over time, they made some changes to get material there to increase the uptime of that machine, right? And they took it from producing 9 million parts of, or 9 million pounds of aluminum a year to 16 million pounds of aluminum per year. So almost doubled the output for that machine. They did not add a new resource, meaning another shift to that machine. They didn't add another machine. All they did was focus on reducing the amount of downtime that machine was having. And that's what an MES system really comes into play, saying if you can capture and analyze a specific event like a downtime, now you can actually kind of dive in and put a Kaizen event around and say, all right, let's see how we can reduce the downtime for a specific machine, which obviously can then therefore produce more parts. And we think about the other end of that, they were looking at buying a new machine. And, obviously if they have the space, that's great, but if they didn't have the space, now you're talking about buildings and everything else. Those things are not cheap to implement. And then not only that, but now you have a new person that has to run that machine as well. So you have to add another resource to your bottom line to actually run the machine. And then now you've got, your material logistics, right? So I've got another machine I need to supply with parts that are being, that are same parts that are being produced in another machine. So just things like that, you can utilize an MES solution to kind of give you that information so you can make your improvements. From a reporting standpoint, we talked about paper before. A real quick example is a company that was looking at their reporting and how many people actually touched that piece of paper from the time it was printed until the actual time it was thrown away. And actually, and I say thrown away, it was entered into their ERP system so they could get their BI information and their metrics and everything else. Well, we kind of looked at their steps, and without an MES solution, they were consuming about $31,000 a year of all the time that it took someone to, print it out, record it, make sure that the information on that paper was correct, send it to somebody else so they could enter it in. They entered it into a spreadsheet, which is silly. They took that spreadsheet, handed it off to somebody else. That person took the information off the spreadsheet, keyed it into the ERP system. So all those steps led up to over $31,000 a year for that one specific process of reporting the finished item complete. So it wasn't across all of the reporting, just that one transaction to report finished items complete. They looked at MES and said, gosh, we can eliminate all these steps. And we took it from a $31,000 type of investment for a year down to $3,000. So that is just a huge savings And that's not just, one-time savings, that's a savings every single year. And then obviously accuracy of information. So I'm gonna put another poll question out here, and that is this one, which is, what are your top priorities? So for an MES solution, what are you guys kind of looking at? Are you looking to have an MES solution help with production, help with inventory, help with quality, help with managing your employees, help with managing machines, give you better analytics so that you can make business decisions, etc. We've got the leader for this one is production right now. It's 100%. Everybody who's responded to this question is obviously wanting to help with production. And then I'm going to end that poll, and I'm going to launch one more poll here, and that is, select what types of improvements you're looking for. Oops, sorry, not. Yep, this is it. Are you looking to improve productivity? Are you looking to improve efficiency? And obviously, there's different ones, but it's just kind of choose maybe the top two or top three that you're looking to improve. I mean, is your productivity on the floor bad? Is your quality of your product, or maybe there's something else? Okay, that one's done. So we've got a couple minutes left here, and I'm going to just real quickly toggle over to the actual application and kind of just, connect the dots, if you will, for, all right, how can we eliminate paper, right? So this is a good example of how I can eliminate paper, where I've got a online dispatch list for the jobs that need to be worked on, right? You have all the supporting information that you'd ever want to see regarding that job that's being manufactured, and that's all contained in my shop packet. So I've got my bill of material here, and not only do that have that, but I can see all components and I can see where they reside. So again, trying to improve efficiencies and productivity. You now don't have people walking around expecting the inventory in one location where it's really not there. All routing status is information there, but then you have all other information as far as, your drawings can be displayed, work instructions, videos for how to set things up. When you think about, another efficiency gain or productivity gain is, training or startup time. You can have videos out there for how to set a machine up, or how to actually assemble something, etc. And that's at their fingertips where they can look at it every single day. You just reduce your startup and your training time for a new individual that's out on the shop floor. Another example is saying, well, maybe I'm having a dashboard, right? And my dashboard can display a lot of information and say, all right, I know what's running. I know what machines are down, kind of like I was focusing on before, what's running well and what's not running well. The yellows obviously are running, but they're behind schedule. My reds are actually machines that are down, and maybe I have a different dashboard that's going to look and give me more detailed information about actually what machines are down, how long they've been down. I can see what's expected output for a specific job on a specific work area, work center, and I can see that it's actually behind schedule. We can address these right now, real time, so that obviously it's not only going to improve your productivity and efficiency today, but it's also going to help improve that on-time delivery and the completion of that manufacturing order, so you can actually ship it out. From a quality perspective, where we talked about quality and saying I can, look at quality at a given time and have quality kind of get kicked off during the manufacturing process. This is an example of, quality getting kicked off that says, all right, at this type of manufacturing process, I need to test these two things: a visual inspection and inside diameter. And again, you can have supporting information out here for attachments and things like that if you need those equipment that's needed. When you start testing, this is where I could fail something, and it's going to take me through the failure process and automatically create a non-conformance report and communicate that non-conformance situation to whomever you designated to receive those types of messages. So again, you can identify these things as they're happening out on the shop floor, so you can address them today rather than really waiting till tomorrow or the end of the week when you have your kind of production status meetings and to figure out, all right, what's behind schedule, what is not going to pass quality, final inspection, those types of things. You can address those today. I'm just going to stop that one there. There's a lot of other visibilities out here, so I could say, we talked about that example of that metric they wanted to look at, which was downtime. If I can look at my downtime metric here, I can say, well, let's go back, not just one day, but maybe let's go back the entire year. And I can see from January 1st, 2023 to 2024, put that into a bar chart. This is where we can now look and say, all right, here's all the downtime that has been accumulated across my work centers. So I can see that assembly area 4 has been down for 2,141 hours just for that year. So if I can reduce that from 2,000 hours down to maybe 1,000 hours, how much more output have I just created for my facility, right? And again, it maybe helps you save buying a machine, adding in an employee, helps you get your customer confidence that you can deliver things on time because you're being as productive and as efficient as you possibly can. Okay, with that, I know we reached the half-hour mark here. I appreciate everybody's time here today. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Stay warm if you're in a cold state as well, or a cold country. Thank you.